people, what's up? My name is Anita and you're watching me on my channel Slay It with Anita. You're on my longest series Sessions with Sue, where I'm talking about this book called NLP at Work 3rd edition, written by someone whom I really regard as a mentor and who's of course an authority in her field, which is Sue Knight. Well, the topic that we're currently discussing is like a sensitive one but an extremely interesting one, and something that I personally believe can be a huge self-development tool: feedback, the NLP way. So last week what I covered was what are some beliefs that really support this whole process of feedback. And in case you've not had a chance to watch that video, please do and watch it. Of course, I've requested my team to ensure that the beliefs are flashed and so that I can bring you up to speed. Well, what's the big thing about feedback? Because after all, whenever anything to do with leadership or people or management gets talked about, somewhere the topic of feedback finds its way, right? But let me tell you something really funny. I remember that at one point of time, let's say when I was going to receive feedback, and I would completely brace myself. It's like, I would feel like I'm all going to pretend that, hey, I'm completely okay with whatever you have said, but you know what? I know how to defend myself, and I know how I'm going to counter everything that you are going to say with something smarter, something better, something that will put me back in a good light in case your attempt is to show me in a bad light. Okay? Crazy, right? Now I realize it was such a horrible way of receiving feedback. Similarly, even when it came to giving feedback, I would be like, okay, I'm going to be on an improving you mission, and I'm going to tell you what are the 10 areas where you need to be doing things differently or being different, and I could go like an AK-47. Not done, right? So both giving and receiving feedback, my dear friends, the NLP way is, I believe, the most powerful way you can engage with feedback. But then remember, if you watched my earlier episode, I did say that Sue mentions, and I completely agree, that to be able to give feedback, one must always first be able to receive the feedback. So true enough, today I'm going to start with how does one go about receiving feedback, and then we'll touch upon how can one give feedback in a manner that it becomes a beautiful process, increasing the connection between you and the person that you're giving feedback to. Ready? By the way, we are in the series Sessions with Sue, and we've covered quite a bit of ground. What I'm going to do is in the description add what videos are covering what topics. There will also be links to other videos if I'm mentioning other topics during this video as well. Please make sure you check out all of them. Also, if you do feel somebody can benefit from seeing this, please do make sure you share. And since we're talking about feedback, I sincerely request all of you to please take the liberty of giving feedback. I would love to know what else I can do or be better so that I can continue to create value for you guys. Okay, so ready to start? How do we really get great at receiving feedback? Well, the first thing that actually we could do, and yes, I'm going to blatantly say that I'm going to refer the book because it's got huge wisdom, especially with regards to this topic, feedback. So the very first thing that Sue recommends is that to actually be in a resourceful state, whatever works for us, which will allow us to make the best use of that feedback. Like remember, I was telling you how I would be on a defense or an attack mode in the past, whereas now I know better and I can consciously tap into the fact that any feedback can only make me better. Because if somebody is telling something nice about me, then I know that all I need to do is take that well and continue doing that, because that's landing well on others. At the same time, if I'm receiving something that's a little challenging, then I know that it's just going to be a huge learning. In fact, these days, because I'm trying something new, and yeah, I'm glad I'm getting this opportunity to mention this to you. So, have you heard of Leonardo da Vinci? I mean, his claim to fame for a regular person is that he has painted Mona Lisa. And these days I'm exploring something called the 7 principles of Da Vinci. And because I do believe that those principles derived from that 14th century person actually hold good even today in 21st century. Why I mentioned that, although it's nothing to do with feedback, is because I would love for you to check out my LinkedIn and my Insta pages to So to see the content I'm putting out with regards to the 7 principles of Da Vinci, and let me know how am I doing. I really would love to talk about it more, because I think it's a kick-ass concept and all of us can benefit from it. Coming back to feedback. So the very first thing is to access a state of learning, a state of self-confidence that I can only do better with this, and be completely okay to receive the feedback. Step 1. The step 2 is that where I'll invoke or I'll tap into all the beliefs of feedback that we discussed in my previous episode. The third thing is that we actually anticipate feedback and we ask and we take full responsibility to dig into that feedback further, which means I could, as a receiver of feedback, ask something like, tell me how do I do that, or tell me how do I be that, tell me more. So what happens is when I do this, when I ask somebody, in what ways do I do this, I'm actually helping break it down for me more and more, so that I know exactly what to change in me, so that the whole thing becomes developmental, right? And then one of the biggest thing about being a good receiver of feedback is to always anticipate and invite it, which is what I have learned the hard way. And that's why these days I always make it a point to say, hey, you know what, break a leg, please give me feedback, because I know how much good it can do to me, right? So do invite feedback. And then if, let's say, it's a personally challenging feedback, let's face it, we are all human beings. It's not that we're going to jump with joy if somebody is actually giving us critical feedback. Like, I know even today how bad I would feel if somebody were to say something which doesn't seem nice about me. But you know what? It's perfectly okay. Because the way to handle it is that momentarily, when you receive that challenging feedback, you disassociate yourself. Okay? You move away. And then you ask yourself, what resources can I tap into so that I still am able to receive that feedback in a nice way? Like just the other day it happened, and I did get feedback on a proposal that I had sent, which was not very nice. My first thing was to again slip into the older habit and say, you know what, I had done my best, I had actually sent you a good proposal, and then I was like, no, stop. Anita, stop. And I realized that the resources at that point of time that I needed was to believe, what does this person stand to gain by unnecessarily criticizing me? What is that good thing there for me in the feedback that he is sharing? So I momentarily disassociated with my emotion that I was feeling because of that challenging feedback. Then I tapped into some great resources, some great belief systems, and then I came back and I actually went about receiving that feedback in a genuine way. And guess what? I did reshare the proposal, and then the client accepted it in a jiffy. That's a powerful thing, right? So please understand, it's perfectly okay if you do temporarily feel bad or feel not so good about a challenging feedback. But the trick is disassociate, tap into some great resources, associate yourself back, and then accept it. Bingo. You really are going to move leaps and bounds, just like it happens with me. And then take full responsibility. The next step is to take full responsibility for building and maintaining rapport, so that the person who's giving feedback continues to do so in a very, very non-judgmental way. You know what? I'm so embarrassed to be saying this, but I clearly remember certain instances in my life where, let's say, somebody is giving me feedback, and I have my body language has clammed up. So it's like, while I'm pretending to be smiling and I'm pretending to listen to the guy or whoever it is that's giving me feedback, internally I'm like, yeah, okay, chill, I know what I'm doing. Not done, guys. Absolutely not a good quality of a receiver of feedback. It's 100% our responsibility to ensure that we maintain the rapport with the person. So which is why today, I know that before I really start receiving feedback, I completely get into the zone where I'm committed to that process, and it just doesn't affect the equation that I have with the person. I believe that the person has my best intentions at heart, and I completely, mind, body, spirit, receive that feedback. So yes, it's our responsibility to keep the rapport with the person who's giving us feedback, good, bad or ugly. Next step is to completely understand the feedback by asking clean questions. For those of you who are wondering what is a clean question, well, I have done my YouTube videos already in the same playlist, so please make sure you watch it. We'll mention the link so that you can navigate your way there. By asking questions without contaminating the feedback that you're receiving. So like let's say when I talked about the proposal, when the person actually told me, you know what, Anita, I'm not sure this proposal is detailed enough. And so what I did is I asked that person, in what way can I change this, or in what way can this proposal be different so that you feel that the amount of detailing you want is there. So by asking clean questions, what happens is that you take 100% responsibility to own the feedback and then to go ahead and do something about it. Remember, I ultimately got the client. This also shows the willingness of the receiver of feedback, and hence the giver actually then really gives it in the best manner possible. And then, last but not the least, if the feedback indicates that we have actually upset the person or anything like that, you actually must apologize even if you have done it unknowingly. And I know that these days I sometimes tend to do that. I actually tell that, hey, you know what, just don't go by how I'm momentarily appearing to you. I am genuinely receiving and taking for myself everything that you're sharing, and thank you for taking the time to do that for me. And you know what? So many successful people that I keep interacting with, they do have this quality of humility, self-securedness, and the ability to receive feedback in a beautiful way. So then check out, last but not the least, you check out, instead of say whatever feedback you're getting that's challenging, what can you do or what can you say or what can you be that can be different? And so that the objective of the feedback, which is your learning and your improvement, can happen. And then imagine yourself, like as a receiver, imagine yourself that you've already taken the feedback and then now behaving in a way that demonstrates the changes that you're discussing. Like even this whole YouTube video process, I do keep getting feedback all the time. Sometimes maybe with regards to my tonality, sometimes the way I'm representing the content, or sometimes let's say the background or even the color of my clothes. But then I do realize that as and when I keep working on each of that, I actually am demonstrating the journey for myself of becoming better bit by bit. That's the power of being a good receiver of feedback. Will you be one too? So if that is one part of the story, remember, we are also in a world where we probably have the responsibility, and if you ask me, it's a very sacred responsibility of giving feedback. How can one do that without really, affecting the other person's self-esteem? How can you do that in a manner that it's a process of deep learning and a deeper connection for both of you? Ready to look at that part? Let's get on to it then. The first thing, please, and this is like, although Sue doesn't say it in that many words, please check for whether you have sufficient rapport and your equation with the other person allows you to give feedback. I've really learned this the hard way. I always make it a point to seek permission, test the waters and say, hey, is it okay I share something? And is it okay I point out something? Is it okay I share an observation? So the first thing is to ensure that you do establish that climate of rapport with each other and then only go about giving some feedback. Then secondly, how is this feedback true for me as much as it is about you? Remember, one of the beliefs that support feedback is that whatever we recognize in others is in some way a mirror of what we have within ourselves. In fact, recently I had a very interesting experience. So I was talking to this, I had listened to this presentation by an author, and then I just felt that on occasion, he was very quickly jumping into answer, and he was always saying the same line, thank you for asking such a beautiful question. And I realized that I was a little, I didn't think that was like a good thing to do, because to me, it felt like the person is just wanting to hurry and respond. And every question need not, to me was not equally beautiful. And so I did check with him, and I did say that, hey, this is how I felt. And of course, that person was really gracious and displayed the humility to accept it. But you know what? Immediately, I also went deep within me and asked myself, okay, where is it that happens with me that I'm also in a hurry to give an answer? Where is it that it happens with me that I also sound very repetitive and maybe mechanical or practiced? So, even though you could be giving a feedback to somebody, the fact is, it's as much true for you as much it is for the other person. Which is why it actually helps a lot by creating that context and the space that it's a space of joint learning. It's a space of joint improvement. It really is to bring both of us together in a very different way. Next step as a giver of feedback would be to frame the feedback in a manner that you stay specific and committed to that particular context. I remember many times when my managers would give feedback, thankfully not to me most of the times, but they would say something like, everything else is okay, but you're very lazy. Very blanket feedback. So the idea is, whenever you give feedback, you be completely objective, you completely give the evidence of the feedback within that context. Which means what? Let's say if the manager had felt that, say in a certain project, the promptness shown by the team member needed to be more, then that context is what is important. That, hey, you know what? Today what I want to talk to you about is this specific ABC project. And I just feel that the number of responses that you gave or the time at which you gave, do you think it really helped in cementing our relationship with the client? And so you do it in an inviting manner, and you do it in a manner which doesn't sound like an opinion. Because you know what? Feedback without objectivity or without the evidence, and if it is not within a certain context, it's just your opinion. It's not feedback. And remember, when you're giving feedback, I would say the responsibility is even more, because any feedback conversation should leave the other person so much more empowered and feel much more connected that, hey, this person has actually added value to my life. Wouldn't you agree? So that's an important step for you. And then is to, if let us say you notice that the other person is not seeming to open to accept the feedback, how do you really change tacks to reword the feedback in a manner that they do accept it? Which means, let's say you sense something in their body language, and that's what I tend to do. If I'm sharing a feedback and I'm seeing that, no, they don't seem to be with me, so then I do ask, I do immediately ask, what are you thinking? Or what's going on in your mind? No, it's okay, tell me. And I create that climate of trust and rapport so that I then again facilitate the process of bringing them to a point where they are open to the feedback. And you know what? Sue really stresses on the togetherness of this whole process, and I'm discovering that in the way I get feedback on my coaching in an advanced coaching program that I'm doing. The facilitator there, he does it in such a beautiful way where he says, does it happen to you? I messed it up all the time. Because he has that maturity to understand and demonstrate that yes, if he is giving a certain feedback to me or anybody else, then he has a part of that structure within himself, and he demonstrates that beautifully. Yeah, you with me so far? We've covered completely how to be a great receiver of feedback, and now we have deep dived into how to be a good giver of feedback. We are almost there, don't worry. And then this is a simple one but an important one. You know what? Maintain direct eye contact. Yeah, important. Sometimes I've seen people giving feedback where they are like, so you know what? I think your time management should improve. Not happening. Remember, it's a very sacred activity. Please do make sure you look at the person and then you go about giving the feedback. Okay? Very important. and recognize that the hallmark of a good feedback is in the response that you really get. Because like I was mentioning before, and that's what Sue says, that you have to be an example of the response that you want to see in others. Which means, if I want the other person to be non-defensive, I must be non-defensive. If I want the other person to be calm and think through whatever is being shared, I must be calm while I'm sharing that feedback. If I want that the other person should not pounce on me and attack, I must ensure that my tonality and the space that I provide, both verbally and non-verbally, has that thing of calm. You get the drift, right? So when would you know that you've done a brilliant job at feedback? Well, Sue says, and here I would like to quote her verbatim, the ultimate measure of your skill in giving feedback is that as a result of the process, both you and the person or people to whom you have given feedback learn from it, that means both of you learn from it, and deepen your connection with each other. To round off this chapter, she actually quotes one of her participants in a training program where a delegate has said, "Today we give each other feedback and we learn from it. What we used to give each other was abuse." Are you abusing anybody? I hope not. Thank you so much for watching Slate with Anita. Don't go anywhere. Next week I'm going to close this series on feedback by talking about one small piece but still critical piece, feedback and modeling. Thank you for watching.